grandpa was a worker. He just taught you this is the reality of life. You know, if you work hard, you'll be rewarded. And my grandmother said, you know, work solves everything, Greg. You just need to work. Hey, dude, you got some drywall finishing you need done? Back then on the job sites, it was a lot different environment than it is today. And there was lot of drinking on the jobs during work and after. I learned in Rapid City, South Dakota. Learned from a friend of mine, taught me how to tape and finish, and it's the only job I've had my whole life. I'm a drywall finisher. Well, I had a little drug problem and was incarcerated, and in 1991 was released to Sioux Falls with the $50 allowance that you get, and started my life there. I was hoping to get a trailer house and get my life back together, get in a decent relationship, buy a car, and the ultimate dream of mine was to ultimately have 4 or 5 guys working for me and speak to kids and convicts and help change the way that the system was dealing with people with drug problems. When I got to Sioux Falls, I went to work for some companies, working by the hour, had a partner for a few years, and then started Sands Drywall 20 years ago. There's the first Sands Drywall company truck. Didn't have the logo on her yet. The logo wouldn't stick because of the rust. Because I had been released from probation early, I was eligible to file for the pardon early. The criteria is you have to do something outstanding in your community. I believe that it had something to do with how entrenched I was with the recovery community in Sioux Falls and helping some 12-step fellowships get going here. And I filed for it. About 6 years later, I ran into my probation officer. She told me I had been denied. So I kind of totally let it go. It was about 6 weeks later, Ham was out at the office and came into my office and said, the Associated Press is on the phone for you. And they said, is this the Greg Sands that just got the presidential pardon? And then we started crying, and it was a very good day. Later that day, we were driving around and I was feeling pretty full of myself, and I said to Pam, this is the side of the car for those of us that received a presidential pardon. And Pam said, and this is the side of the car for those of us who didn't need one. We'd kind of only seen each other, and then I went to this restaurant she was working at as a waitress and ordered a chocolate malt.
Thick.
Extra thick, because that's how I like it, you know.
And I thought, what a jerk.
However, despite those feelings of hers, when I called back, I left the restaurant, called her, she accepted the date, and then
You push-started your car on the first date?
First date, I had a really nice Jeep. You'd have to park it on a hill so that it would start. And did it start on fire that time?
No.
No. So push-started the car, and I had to give a UA to my probation people.
And you had told me that you had been to prison.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh great, what kind of a loser do I have here?
Her family likes me a lot, too.
You seemed like a really caring person. We kind of ran in the same circles. Then when I happened to see him a year later when I waited on him, we kind of started talking and just seemed kind through his eyes, I guess. Harmless to me.
Older. I worked for Ryan. He was a general contractor up in the middle of nowhere, some hick town.
And I had a good relationship with Egan Drywall Supply in Sioux Falls, and I called them and said, hey, does you know of any of the drywall companies in Sioux Falls looking possibly at hiring an estimator?
They had, by mistake, given him two names. I don't know why they'd given him someone else's name besides ours.
I set up interviews for both. I believe it was on a Saturday. And I met with Greg first. Interview went very well, and he took me out to his office, to his shop, and showed me that.
I told him, I just need to know right now.
Greg's a great salesman, is what it comes down to.
He got back to me a day or two later and came on board and has been with me ever since.
I was fairly certain that it was going to be a good fit for me, so I canceled the second interview.
And I took the job that Ryan did, the interview that Ryan didn't go to.
Jared I hired in the parking lot of Empire Mall. Jared's kind of a pain in the ass.
One of our superintendents at the competitor that I worked for got hired by Greg. And he told Greg about me. I met Greg at the parking lot of the Empire Mall. And met him probably talked for a half hour, 45 minutes, sitting in his Escalade in the parking lot of the mall. And he wanted to know if I would take the job within an hour because he doesn't have a lot of patience. He's in a hurry. He's a mover and shaker, and if he doesn't want to waste his time, if it's not going to work out, he's looking for the next guy. It was definitely stressful, but we had a great interview. I felt really good about the interview. The following Monday, I was working at Sands.
This is my mother. She raised my brother and I by herself. She also had a great work ethic. Worked 2 to 3 jobs to give us clean clothes and food, and she was very, very responsible and productive in her life, and pass that on to me. She's a very good woman. When I was at that job site, they have the beautiful stairwells going up, and I looked down one day and there's 15 or 20 guys in there all wearing whites with Sands drywall on them. I just broke down and started crying. I seen, that my life had changed, and it was a real moment of inspiration for me. This has been the only job I've ever had, and it's been a great job. I believe that I had a vision, but the vision was much smaller than what the reality is today. The dream that I had was the 5 people. It wasn't the 300 plus payroll and subcontractors we have today. It's successful because of the team. This is and always has been a team effort, and that's the key.
Happy 20th anniversary!